his word that he might be glorified. Truly, it's a very great blessing to be able to serve the true and living God. Many men has tried, but the thing of it is, in our trials, a lot of time, what people have a tendency to do is want to serve the true and living God the way that they want to, instead of the way that it is designed that we all walk before our God. Truly, Yahweh's been gracious to us. So let us always find the time to give him the glory and honor that's due to his holy name, because truly the legacy proves that our God is soon to be found. Brother Steve, three daughters of the church invite him to stand just so that he may come in and sup with us and us with him, that we may continue to read out of this great legacy. Consider what we read, because herein our salvation lies.
But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man have received a gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim giveth, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yeshua HaMashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed unto the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim, for the anointed one's sake, have forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim as their children, and walk in love, as the anointed one also have loved us, and have given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be one's name among you as becometh saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Revelation chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame, and am set down with my Father in his throne. He that have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the church.
Amen. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the church in Holy Convention. I'd like to start our class in the book of Genesis. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, through chapter 2 and verse 3. Genesis chapter 1 and verse 1 through chapter 2 and verse 3. And let us see the majesty of and the power of the true and living God, because a lot of us don't understand what that power is all about yet. A lot of us do not even fear the power of God. We fear the power of men more than we do of God. And when we deal with things of that nature, then we find out that we can be separated from the spiritual things of the true and living God. Genesis 1, and pick that up at verse 1.
Yes, sir. In the beginning, Elohim created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void. And darkness was upon the face of the deep. and the Spirit of Elohim moved upon the face of the waters. And Elohim said, let there be light, and there was light. And Elohim saw the light, that it was good. And Elohim divided the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. And Elohim said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And Elohim made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. And Elohim called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And Elohim said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear, and it was so. And Elohim called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the third day. And Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And Elohim set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. And Elohim said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that have life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And Elohim created great whales, and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. And Elohim said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping things, and beasts of the earth after his kind. And it was so. And Elohim made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So Elohim created man in his own image. In the image of Elohim created he him, male and female created he them. And Elohim blessed them, and Elohim said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And Elohim said, behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. And Elohim saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, Elohim ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And Elohim blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which Elohim created.
Amen and amen. Now, when we consider the works of Yahweh among men, the testimony proves that Yahweh Elohim is the author and orchestrator of all things. And everything that he made, it said it was good or very good. But man didn't choose that which was good and chose to become the adversary. And because of these things, this entire earth will become a ball of fire after the first resurrection, the reward of the wicked. Yet down through the ages, Yahweh has caused his words to be heard among men, men of his choosing, men destined to carry out the works of the Spirit in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation. So it is with the children of Israel, his chosen people. Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 1 through verse 8. Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 1 through verse 8.
Isaiah chapter 5, verse 1. Now will I sing to my well-beloved a song of my beloved touching his vineyard. My well-beloved have a vineyard in a very fruitful hill. And he fenced it and gathered out the stones thereof and planted it with the choicest vine and built a tower in the midst of it and also made a winepress therein. And he looked that it should bring forth grapes, and it brought forth wild grapes.
So we know what this is all about. Yahweh chose the nation of Israel and went and gathered them from among. We grew up. When we first went down into Egypt, rather, it was only 70 people in our whole nation. And he kept us down there in 430 years and grew us up to a very great nation. Then he brought us out, destroying the land of Egypt, and took us into a land of his own. And in due time, he allowed Solomon to build a tower in the midst of it and to see what it would bring forth. And he looked that it should bring forth grapes, and it brought forth wild grapes. So go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Isaiah chapter 5, verse 3. And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Yehudah, judge, I pray you, between me and my vineyard. What could have been done more to my vineyard that I have not done in it? Why, when I looked at it should bring forth grapes, it brought forth wild grapes. And now go to, I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard. I will take away the heads thereof, and it shall be eaten up, and break down the wall thereof, and it shall be trodden down. And I will lay it waste, it shall not be pruned nor digged, but there shall come up briars and thorns. I will also command the clouds that they rain no rain upon it. For the vineyard of Yahweh of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Yehudah his pleasant plant. And he looked for judgment, but behold oppression, for righteousness, but behold a cry.
Okay, my brother, I don't want to read that next verse there. That should have stopped at verse 7. Y'all forgive me for that. Should have stopped at verse 7. Well, let's go and see what brought on a lot of this cause Israel to really be cast out of the land. Let's go in Ezekiel chapter 8 and verse 1 through 11 and verse 25. Ezekiel chapter 8 and verse 1 through 11 and verse 25.
in the 6th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I sat in mine house, and the elders of Yehuda sat before me, that the hand of the Adonai Elohim fell there upon me. Then I beheld, and lo, a likeness as the appearance of fire, from the appearance of his loins even downward, fire, and from his loins even upward, as the appearance of brightness, as the color of amber. And he put forth the form of a hand, and took me by a lock of mine head, and the earth, and the spirit, lifted me up between the earth and the heaven, and brought me in the visions of Elohim to Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate that looked up toward the north, where was the seat of the image of jealousy, which provoketh to jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
And behold, the glory of the Elohim of Israel was there, according to the vision that I saw in the plain. Then said he unto me, Son of man, lift up your eyes now the way toward the north. So I lifted up mine eyes the way toward the north, and behold, northward at the gate of the altar, this image of jealousy in the entrance.
Mm-hmm.
He said furthermore unto me, Son of man, do you see what they do? Even the great abominations that the house of Israel commit up here, that I should go far off from my sanctuary. But turn you yet again, and you shall see greater abominations. And he brought me to the door of the court, and when I looked, behold, a hole in the wall. Then said he unto me, Son of man, dig now in the wall. And when I had digged in the wall, behold, a door. And he said unto me, Go in, and behold the wicked abominations that they do here. So I went in and saw, and behold, every form of creeping things and abominable beasts, and all the idols of the house of Israel portrayed upon the wall round about.
Now remember, this brother here was in the spirit now, okay? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 11. And there stood before them 70 men of the ancients of the house of Israel, and in the midst of them stood Yaazaniah the son of Shaphan, with every man his censer in his hand, and a thick cloud of incense went up. Then said he unto me, Son of man, have you seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark? Every man in the chambers of his imagery. For they say, Yahweh seeth us not. Yahweh hath forsaken the earth.
Now, we don't set up idols, but what we do, our imagery is portrayed in our evil thoughts to come in our mind. Okay, go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 13. He said also unto me, Turn you yet again, and you shall see greater abominations that they do. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of Yahweh's house, which was toward the north, and behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. Then said he unto me, Have you seen this, O son of man? Turn you yet again, and you shall see greater abominations than these. And he brought me into the inner court of Yahweh's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of Yahweh, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, with their backs toward the temple of Yahweh, and their faces toward the east, and they worship the sun toward the east.
Now remember that when we read these things here, these folks didn't all together jump up at one time and say, we're going to go do this thing. See, what happened, that came out of the mouth of others. See, go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir, verse 17. Then he said unto me, Have you seen this, O son of man? Is it a like thing to the house of Yehuda that they commit the abominations which they commit here? For they have filled the land with violence, and have returned to provoke me to anger. And lo, they put the branch to their nose.
Right, they didn't want no peace. They didn't try to ensure peace. This is why people went around talking about, look, let's go do this. Let's go do that. Yahweh has forsaken this camp here. Let's go do this, and let's go do that. Go on and read, brother.
Verse 18. Therefore will I also deal in fury. Mine eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity. And though they cry in mine ears with a loud voice, yet will I not hear them. He cried also in mine ears with a loud voice, saying, cause them that have charge over the city to draw near, even every man with his destroying weapon in his hand.
So he had given people charge over the city then, hadn't he? And he told them, said, look, you call these men, you call these men here together, right? And we're going to find out if we get a little further in this, that these men were angels. Okay? He said, call all the men with the destroying weapon in their hand, because the end is near. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 2. And behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate, which lieth toward the north, and every man a slaughter weapon in his hand. And one man among them was clothed with linen, with a writer's inkhorn by his side. And they went in and stood beside the brazen altar. And the glory of the Elohim of Israel was gone up from the cherub whereupon he was to the threshold of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And he called to the man clothed with linen, which had the writer's inkhorn by his side. And Yahweh said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof.
Right. Now he was sitting on his throne, right? The Spirit was sitting on the throne. Then the Spirit rose up from the throne. It rose up from the cherub, right? And it said, look here, y'all men, y'all go out there and y'all do this job that I've told y'all to do, right? Go ahead, brother.
Ezekiel chapter 9, verse 5. And to the others he said in mine hearing, go you after him through the city and smite. Let not your eyes spare, neither have you pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin in my sanctuary.
Mm-hmm. Come not near any man who had the Spirit now, but you begin in my sanctuary. Go ahead, brother.
Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house. And he said unto them, defile the house, and fill the courts with the slain. Go you forth. And they went forth and slew in the city. And it came to pass, while they were slaying them, and I was left, that I fell upon my face and cried and said, Ah, Adonai Elohim, will you destroy all the residue of Israel in your pouring out of your fury upon Jerusalem? Then said he unto me, the iniquity of the house of Israel and Yehudah is exceeding great, and the land is full of blood, and the city full of perverseness. For they say, Yahweh hath forsaken the earth, and Yahweh seeth not.
Right, we don't need no peace. What we need about with peace? Yahweh has forsaken the earth. We ain't going to have no peace. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir, verse 10. And as for me also, mine eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense their way upon their head.
Mm-hmm.
And behold, the man clothed with linen, which had the inkhorn by his side, reported the matter, saying, I have done as you have commanded.
I have done as you have commanded me. I have done as you have commanded me. And you have to ask yourself, what did Yahweh command me to do except keep his word? Go ahead and read, brother.
Ezekiel chapter 10, verse 1. Then I looked, and behold, in the firmament that was above the head of the cherubims that appeared over them, as it were a sapphire stone, as the appearance of the likeness of a throne. And he spoke unto the man clothed with linen, and said, Go in between the wheels, even under the cherub, and fill your hand with coals of fire from between the cherubims, and scatter them over the city. And he went out in my sight. Now the cherubim stood on the right side of the house when the man went in, and the cloud filled the inner court. Then the glory of Yahweh went up from the cherub and stood over the threshold of the house, and the house was filled with the cloud, and the court was full of the brightness of Yahweh's glory.
Okay, so the Spirit rose up, now it's at the threshold of the house, right? Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 5. And the sound of the cherubim's wings was heard even to the outer court, as the voice of the Almighty Elohim when speaking.
No, verse 19, brother. I'm sorry, verse 18. I'm sorry.
Then the glory of Yahweh departed from off the threshold of the house and stood over the cherubim. And the cherubims lifted up their wings and mounted up from the earth in my sight. When they went out, the wheels also were beside them, and everyone stood at the door of the east gate of Yahweh's house, and the glory of the Elohim of Israel was over them above. This is the living creature that I saw under the Elohim of Israel by the river of Sabbath, and I knew that they were the cherubim. Every one had 4 faces apiece, and every one 4 wings. And the likeness of the hands of a man was under their wings. And the likeness of their faces was the same faces which I saw by the river of Chebar, their appearances and themselves. They went every one straight forward. Moreover, the Spirit lifted me up and brought me unto the east gate of Yahweh's house, which looketh eastward. And behold, at the door of the gate 25 men, among whom I saw Yazaniah the son of Ashur, and Pelatiah the son of Benaiah, princes of the people. Then said he unto me, Son of man, these are the men that devise mischief and give wicked counsel in this city.
Son of man, these are the men that devise mischief and give wicked counsel in this city, right? Which say, it is not near. Let us build houses. This city is a cauldron, and we be the flesh. Therefore prophesy against them. Prophesy, O son of man. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 5. And the Spirit of Yahweh fell upon me, and said unto me, Speak. Thus says Yahweh. Thus have you said, O house of Israel. For I know the things that come into your mind, every one of them. You have multiplied your slain in this city, and you have filled the streets thereof with the slain. Therefore thus says Adonai Elohim, your slain whom you have laid in the midst thereof, they are the flesh, and this city is the cauldron. But I will bring you forth out of the midst of it. You have feared the sword, and I will bring a sword upon you, says Adonai Elohim. And I will bring you out of the midst thereof, and deliver you into the hands of strangers, and will execute judgments among you. You shall fall by the sword. I will judge you in the border of Israel, and you shall know that I am Yahweh. This city shall not be your cauldron, neither shall you be the flesh in the midst thereof, but I will judge you in the border of Israel.
It ain't going to be like you want it. It's going to be like I want it, right? Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir, verse 12. And you shall know that I am Yahweh, for you have not walked in my statutes, neither executed my judgments, but have done after the manners of the heathen that are round about you. And it came to pass, when I prophesied, that Pelatiah the son of Benaiah died. Then fell I down upon my face, and cried with a loud voice, and said, Ah, Adonai Elohim, will you make a full end of the remnant of Israel? Again, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, your brethren, even your brethren, the men of your kindred, and all the house of Israel holy, are they unto whom the inhabitants of Jerusalem have said, Get you far from Yahweh. Unto us is this land given in possession. Therefore say, Thus says Adonai Elohim, although I have cast them far off among the heathen, and although I have scattered them among the countries, yet will I be to them as a little sanctuary in the countries where they shall come.
Praise Yah.
Therefore say, Thus says Adonai Elohim, I will even gather you from the people and assemble you out of the countries where you have been scattered, and I will give you the land of Israel.
Although I've done all these things for you, although I've cast you out of the land, brought all the nations upon you, I'm still going to be a little sanctuary to you in the countries where you come, right? He said, I'm going to gather you, and I'm going to assemble you where you've been scattered and bring you back to the land of Israel, right? Go ahead, bro.
Yes, sir, verse 18. And they shall come thither, and they shall take away all the detestable things thereof, and all the abominations thereof from thence. And I will give them one heart, and I will put a new spirit within you, and I will take the stony heart out of their flesh, and will give them a heart of flesh.
And I will give them one heart, right? How can two walk together and don't be agreed? Huh? That's going to cause division, right? Division causes schism, right? Okay. Go on and read, brother.
Yes, sir, verse 20. That they may walk in my statutes and keep mine ordinances and do them. And they shall be my people, and I will be their Elohim. But as for them whose heart walketh after the heart of their detestable things and their abominations, I will recompense their way upon their own heads, says Adonai Elohim.
Amen.
Then did the cherubims lift up their wings, and the wheels beside them, and the glory of the El of Israel was over them above. And the glory of Yahweh went up from the midst of the city and stood upon the mountain, which is on the east side of the city.
Now, when you look at that, you're going to find out that he went the same place that the Messiah arose from, and the same place that he's going to turn, the Mount of Olives, on the east of the city of Jerusalem, right? Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir, verse 24. Afterwards, the Spirit took me up and brought me in a vision by the Spirit of Elohim into Chaldea to them of the captivity. So the vision that I had seen went up from me. Then I spoke unto them of the captivity all the things that Yahweh had shown.
Then I spoke what? All the things that Yahweh had shown me. Not what I think. All the things that Yahweh had shown me. As we see, Elohim abandoned the earthly tabernacle and allowed the nations to destroy it in 70 ACE. Our fathers had opinionated strivings within the gates, which not only affected the priests, but was also made manifest in the moral and spiritual decay of our nation. Therefore, the Spirit abandoned their ungodly ways. They didn't keep their foot when they went into the house of Yahweh and was more apt to cause trouble and offer the sacrifice of food than to hear. And for these strivings, they were stripped naked of all their holy things and given to the curse of Deuteronomy 28, Isaiah 8 through verse 13, and Isaiah 6 verse 8 through verse 13, and Isaiah 8 verse 15 and verse 16. But Brother Steve, read Hebrews 9 verse 11 through verse 14. Let's see what we can get up out of here. Hebrews 9 verse 11 through verse 14. Hebrews chapter 9 and verse 11 through verse 14.
Verse 11. But the anointed one, being come a high priest of good things to come, by a greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands, that is to say, not of this building, neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood he entered in once into the holy place, having obtained eternal redemption for us. For if the blood of bulls and of goats and the ashes of an heifer sprinkling the unclean sanctified to the purifying of the flesh, how much more shall the blood of the anointed one, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without spot to Elohim, purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living Elohim?
That's why you was purged from the dead works. To do what? To serve the living Elohim, right? Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Hebrews chapter 9, verse 15. And for this cause, he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament, they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance.
For this cause, see, this lets you know why you are called to the shepherd's tent. For this cause, he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgressions that was under the first testament, they which are called might receive the promise of eternal salvation, right? But not without works. Good godly works, right? Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir, verse 16. For where a testament is, there must also of necessity be the death of the testator. For a testament is of force after men are dead. Otherwise, it is of no strength at all while the testator liveth. Whereupon neither the first testament was dedicated without blood. For when Moshe had spoken every precept to all the people according to the law, he took the blood of calves and of goats with water and scarlet wood and hyssop and sprinkled both the foot and all the people, saying, This is the blood of the testament which Elohim have enjoined unto you. Moreover, he sprinkled with blood both the tabernacle and all the vessels of the ministry. And almost all things are by the law purged with blood, and without shedding of blood is no remission. It was therefore necessary that the patterns of things in the heavens should be purified with these. But the heavenly things themselves were better sacrifices than these. For the anointed one is not entered into the holy places made with hands, which are the figures of the true, but into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of Elohim for.
And not for all men, but for his servants, right? Chapter 7 and verse 23 through verse 27. Chapter 7 and verse 23 through verse 27.
Verse 23. And they truly were many priests, because they were not suffered to continue by reason of death. But this man, because he continueth ever, have an unchangeable priesthood. Wherefore he is able also to save them to the uttermost that come unto Elohim by him, seeing he ever liveth to make intercession for them.
Seeing that he ever liveth to do what? Make intercessions for the saints, right? Okay, go ahead, brother.
Verse 26. For such an high priest became us, who is holy, harmless, undefiled, separate from sinners, and made higher than the heavens, who needeth not daily, as those high priests, to offer up sacrifice, first for his own sins, and then for the people. But this he did once, when he offered up himself.
Okay, 1 Peter 1 and verse 2 through verse 12, my brother. 1 Peter 1 and verse 2 through verse 12. 1 Peter 1, verse 2 through verse 12.
Back there, I want to teach a little bit, huh?
Yeah, brother. Pick that up at verse 1, my brother. Go ahead and pick that up at verse 1.
Yes, sir. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 1.
Now, we read this in the past month. We read this piece of scripture here 3 times. But some of us ain't got it yet. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 1. Peter, an apostle of Yahshua HaMashiach, to the strangers scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia, elect according to the foreknowledge of Yahweh, through sanctification of the Spirit, unto obedience and sprinkling of the blood of Yahshua HaMashiach, grace unto you and peace be multiplied. Blessed be the Elohim and Father of our Adonai Yahshua HaMashiach, which according to his abundant mercy have begotten us again unto a lively hope by the resurrection of Yahshua HaMashiach from the dead, to an inheritance incorruptible and undefiled, and that fadeth not away, reserved in heaven for you, who are kept by the power of Elohim through faith unto salvation, ready to be revealed in the last time.
And this is the reason why not only had he begotten our fathers, but he, under the blood of the Messiah, he has begotten us again, right? Because he came to redeem them that was under the first testament. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 6. Wherein you greatly rejoice, though now for a season, if need be, you are in heaviness through manifold temptations, that the trial of your faith, being much more precious than of gold that perisheth, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Yahshua HaMashiach, whom having not seen you love, in whom though now you see him not, yet believing, you rejoice with you rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory, receiving the end of your faith, even the salvation of your souls. Of which salvation the prophets have inquired and searched diligently, who prophesied of the grace that should come unto you, searching what manner of time the Spirit of the Anointed One, which was in them, did signify, when it testified beforehand the sufferings of the Anointed One, and the glory that should follow. Unto whom it was revealed that not unto themselves, but unto us they did minister the things which are now reported unto you by them that have preached the gospel unto you with the Holy Ghost sent down from heaven, which things the angels desire to look into.
Amen.
Wherefore, gird up the loins of your mind, be sober, and hope to the end for the grace that is to be brought unto you at the revelation of Yahshua HaMashiach. As obedient children, not fashioning yourselves according to the former lust in your ignorance. But as he which have called you is holy, so be you holy in all manner of conversation.
But as he which has called you is holy, so be you holy in all manner of conversation, right? In other words, we have to learn how to control this piece of wood we got in our mouth. Because, see, a lot of times we go and we jump off in folks' stuff when we should have studied to be quiet. But go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir.
I had a brother call me this morning. Say, you know what, brother? I got a problem against these sisters. I say, what problem you got against the sisters? Now, he's a married brother now. See, the old lady threatened to put him out. See. I said, what problem you got against these sisters, man? Man, these sisters give you your phone number, and then after a while, they don't want you to call them no more. I said, I know why. I said, brother, I've been talking to you for 8 months. And every time you call me, you know what you got? You got something derogatory to say about somebody. You ain't never got nothing to say about nothing good about nobody. It's always when people talk to you about it, when you call me early in the morning, 6:30, tell me, man, you know, I went out yesterday witnessing, and I was dropping the knowledge on this person here, and I told this brother that, and I told that sister that, and I said, them folks started getting away from you too, didn't they? Because you don't know the weapon that you're using. You see, it's one thing to be a soldier, see, but it's another thing to know which weapon to use at which time. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 16, because it is written, be you holy, for I am holy. And if you call on the Father, who without respect of persons judges according to every man's work, pass the time of your sojourning here in fear.
You have to see what is your work. See? Do you do a good work? Or are you trying to hinder good works? And the best way you can hinder good works is to jump off into folks' stuff about junk that you ain't got no business talking about. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 18.
See, the church is a business. And there are different things that go on in the church, right? Well, a lot of times, you're supposed to put yourself in a position where you don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing. See, a lot of times you can expect some things to take place in your time period that you consider, but maybe somebody else has this set to take place in another time period. And this causes confusion. Go ahead and read, brother.
1 Peter chapter 1, verse 18. For as much as you know that you were not redeemed with corruptible things as silver and gold from your vain conversation received by tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of the Anointed One, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot, who verily was foreordained before the foundation of the world, but was manifest in these last times for you, who by him do believe in Elohim, that raised him up from the dead and gave him glory, that your faith and hope might be in Elohim. Seeing you have purified your souls in obeying the truth through the Spirit unto unfeigned love of the brethren, see that you love one another with a pure heart fervently, being born again, not of corruptible seed, but of incorruptible, by the word of Elohim, which liveth and abideth forever.
Amen.
For all flesh is as grass, and all the glory of man as the flower of grass. The grass withereth, and the flower thereof falleth away. But the word of the Adonai endureth forever. And this is the word which by the gospel is preached unto you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you finished that, right, brother?
No, sir, I got to go to 2 and 12.
No, 1 Peter 1 and verse 2 through verse 12. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 2 through verse 12. But you everything you read was okay, though.
Oh, okay.
Okay, everything you read was okay, brother. That's why I didn't say nothing.
Oh, okay.
Being saints in the congregation established upon the blood of the new covenant, we also are given precious holy gifts of spiritual things of Yahweh. Therefore, must our Father's disaster serve as a gift to aid us in our holy walk. If we can't use it at that, then we might as well throw the whole book away. Galatians chapter 6 and verse 1 through verse 10. Galatians chapter 6 and verse 1 through verse 10. Galatians chapter 6 and verse 1 through verse 10.
Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, you which are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness, considering yourself, lest you also be tempted.
Now, why did he say in the spirit of meekness? Correct. Correct. Meekness can be easily entreated, can it? But if you go to... But if you go to a man and you got a stick in your hand and he know you done pop somebody else with that stick, what is he going to do? He's going to throw up a middle wall of petition when he see you coming, ain't he? Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of the anointed one. For if a man think himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself.
Amen.
But let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone and not in another. For every man shall bear his own burden. Let him that is taught in the word communicate unto him that teaches in all good things. Be not deceived. Elohim is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap.
If you sow contention, you're going to reap contention. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 8. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption.
Right. Don't never come to me with what you think and how you feel. See? Because now you're telling me about your flesh. And I don't want to hear nothing about your flesh. Don't come to me and tell me, say, well, we should have been had this done. We couldn't have had this done because things ain't in place yet. You do your job, and I do mine. See? I got a file full of proposals back there I've been having for years. But you know why they're not put in place? Huh? Because we haven't got the proper personnel to put them in place. You see? But people, well, we should have did this time. We should have did that time. Look at the size of the congregation. You'll see what we should have done. Just what we've done. Go ahead and read, brother.
Last part, verse 8. But he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting.
Amen.
And let us not be weary in well doing. For in due season we shall reap if we faint not. As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially unto them who are of the household of faith.
And as we have therefore opportunity, let us go do good to all men, especially of them that are of the household of faith. When we walk among the saints in holy convention or in fellowship within or without the shepherd's tent, we must be acutely careful as to how a saint process the data received in the inner man. If one process that data according to tainted or lack of information, or in our own vanities, fleshly thoughts will become our own words, actions, character, and the destiny of the wicked. But when we walk in the way the Spirit processes things, we perceive we all go in grace as we tarry one for another. Then the Spirit and His works among us are made manifest, and Yahweh is edified in those works. Psalms 45 and verse 1 through 48 and verse 14. Psalms 45 and verse 1 through 48 and verse 14.
Verse 1. My heart is indicted in a good matter. I speak of the things which I have made touching the king. My tongue is the pen of a ready writer. You are fairer than the children of men. Grace is poured into thy lips. Therefore Elohim have blessed thee forever.
Now, you notice what he said now. He said, my tongue is the pen of a ready writer, right? Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir, verse 3. Gird thy sword upon thy thigh, O most mighty, with thy glory and thy majesty. And in thy majesty ride prosperously because of truth and meekness and righteousness, and your right hand shall teach you terrible things.
Amen.
Your arrows are sharp in the heart of the king's enemies, whereby the people fall under thee. Your throne, O Elohim, is forever and ever. The scepter of your kingdom is a right scepter. You love righteousness and hateth wickedness. Therefore, Elohim, your God, have anointed you with the oil of gladness above your fellows. All your garments smell of myrrh and aloes and cassia out of the ivory palaces whereby they have made you glad. King's daughters were among your honorable women. Upon your right hand did stand the queen in gold of Ophir.
Right. Didn't it say on your right hand stood heavy brothers, did it? Go on and read, brother.
Verse 10. Hearken, O daughter, and consider, and incline your ear. Forget also your own people and your father's house. So shall the king greatly desire your beauty, for he is your Adonai, and worship thou him. And the daughter of Tyre shall be there with a gift. Even the rich among the people shall entreat your favor. The king's daughter is all glorious within. Her clothing is of wrought gold. She shall be brought unto the king in raiment of needlework. The virgins, her companions that follow her, shall be brought unto thee. With gladness and rejoicing shall they be brought. They shall enter into the king's palace. Instead of your fathers shall be your children, whom you may make princes in all the earth. I will make your name to be remembered in all generations. Therefore the people shall praise you forever and ever. Elohim is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore will we not fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof. There is a river, the streams whereof shall make glad the city of Elohim, the holy place of the tabernacles of the Most High.
Amen.
Elohim is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. Elohim shall help her, and that right early. The heathen raged, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. Yahweh of hosts is with us. The Elohim of Yaakov is our refuge. Come, behold the works of Yahweh, what desolations he hath made in the earth. He maketh wars to cease unto the end of the earth. He breaketh the bow and cutteth the spear in sunder. He burneth the chariot in the fire. Be still and know that I am Elohim. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. Yahweh of hosts is with us. The Elohim of Yaakov is our refuge. Oh, clap your hands, all you people. Shout unto Elohim with the voice of triumph. For Yahweh Most High is terrible. He is a great king over all the earth. He shall subdue the people under us and the nations under our feet. He shall choose our inheritance for us, the excellency of Yaakov, whom he loves.
He shall choose our inheritance for us, right? He shall do that, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 5. Elohim is gone up with a shout, Yahweh with the sound of a trumpet. Sing praises to Elohim, sing praises. Sing praises unto our King, sing praises. For Elohim is the King of all the earth. Sing you praises with understanding. Elohim reigneth over the heathen. Elohim sitteth upon the throne of his holiness. The princes of the people are gathered together, even the people of the Elohim of Abraham. For the shields of the earth belongeth unto Yah. He is greatly exalted. Great is Yahweh, and greatly to be praised in the city of our Elohim, in the mountain of his holiness. Beautiful for situation, the joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion, on the sides of the north, the city of the great king. Elohim is known in her palaces for a refuge. Below, the kings were assembled. They passed by together. They saw it, and so they marveled. They were troubled and hasted away. Fear took hold upon them there, and pain as of a woman in travail. Thou breakest the ships of Tarshish with an east wind. As we have heard, so have we seen in the city of Yahweh of hosts, in the city of our Elohim. Elohim will establish it forever. We have thought of your loving kindness, O Elohim, in the midst of your temple. According to your name, O Elohim, so is your praise unto the ends of the earth. Your right hand is full of righteousness. Let Mount Zion rejoice. Let the daughters of Yehudah be glad because of your judgment. Walk about Zion, go round about her, count the towers thereof. Mark you well her bulwarks, consider her palaces, that you may tell it to the generation following. For this God is our Elohim forever and ever. He will be our guide, even unto death.
He will be our guide, even unto death, right? Psalms chapter 40, and verse 1 through verse 5. Psalms chapter 40, verse 1 through verse 5.
I waited patiently for Yahweh, and he inclined unto me and heard my cry. He brought me up also out of a horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and set my feet upon a rock, and established my going.
Praise Yah.
And he hath put a new song in my mouth, even praise unto our Elohim. Many shall see it and fear, and shall trust in Yahweh.
Praise Yah.
Blessed is that man that maketh Yahweh his trust, and respecteth not the proud, nor such as turn aside to lie.
Amen.
Many, O Yahweh, my Elohim, are your wonderful works which you have done, and your thoughts which are to us was. They cannot be reckoned up in order unto you. If I would declare and speak of them, they are more than can be numbered.
Okay, my brother. Deuteronomy chapter 30 in verse 1 through verse 16. Deuteronomy 30, verse 1 through verse 16. Deuteronomy chapter 30, in verse 1 through verse 16.
And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before you, and you shall call them to mind among all the nations, whither Yahweh your Elohim have driven you, and shall return unto Yahweh your Elohim, and shall obey his voice according to all that I command you this day, you and your children with all your heart and with all your soul, that then Yahweh your Elohim will turn your captivity and have compassion upon you, and will return and gather you from all the nations whither Yahweh your Elohim have scattered you. If any of yours be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will Yahweh your Elohim gather you, and from thence will he fetch you. And Yahweh your Elohim will bring you into the land which your fathers possessed, and you shall possess it, and he will do you good and multiply you above your fathers. And Yahweh your Elohim will circumcise your heart and the heart of your seed, to love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul, that you may live. And Yahweh your Elohim will put all these curses upon your enemies and on them that hate you, which persecute you. And you shall return and obey the voice of Yahweh, and do all his commandments, which I command you this day. And Yahweh your Elohim will make you plenteous in every work of your hand, in the fruit of your body, and in the fruit of your cattle, and in the fruit of your land, for good. For Yahweh will again rejoice over you for good, as he rejoiced over your fathers, if you shall hearken unto the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which are written in this book of the law, and if you turn unto Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul. For this commandment, which I command you this day, it is not hidden from you, neither is it far off. It is not in heaven, that you should say, who shall go up for us to heaven and bring it unto us, that we may hear it and do it? Neither is it beyond the sea, that you should say, who shall go over the sea for us and bring it unto us, that we may hear it and do it? But the word is very near unto you, in your mouth and in your heart, that you may do it. See, I have set before you this day life and good, and death and evil, in that I command you this day to love Yahweh your Elohim, to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments and his statutes and his judgments, that you may live and multiply. And Yahweh your Elohim shall bless you in the land whither thou goest to possess it.
Amen and amen. Now this portion of the covenant established upon better promises, not perceived by our father Abraham, these things allow us to vaguely see a portion of the inheritance of the Hebrew sons and daughters of God, the living Elohim of Israel. Now let's go into Exodus chapter 14. We're going to pick up some things in Exodus chapter 14 now. Yahweh had all of these confrontations with Pharaoh. And Pharaoh still choose not to let the people go. You know why? When your heart get hardened, you know who hardened? So Yahweh hardened his heart, right? And then the children of Israel Yahweh brought the children of Israel out of land, destroyed Egypt, and so forth and so on. But let's see what happened to the children of Israel once they got out into the wilderness. Exodus 14, in verse 10 through verse 14, my brother.
And when Pharaoh drew nigh The children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them.
Right. Now, they had their back up against the Red Sea. Right? Then they look around, and here come the Egyptians coming up to them to do them some harm. Right? Well, let's see what happened. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Last part, verse 10. And they were sore afraid, and the children of Israel cried out unto Yahweh. And they said unto Moshe, because there were no graves in Egypt, have you taken us away to die in the wilderness?
You see what they saying? See? Man, because there was no graves in the wilderness, you brought us out here to die in this wilderness. There wasn't enough graves for us in Egypt. You see what you're doing to us? Go ahead and read, brother.
Last part, verse 11. Why have you dealt in this manner with us to carry us forth out of Egypt? Is not this the word that we did tell you in Egypt, saying, let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
And Moshe said unto the people, fear you not, stand still, and see the salvation of Yahweh, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom you have seen today, you shall see them again no more forever. Yahweh shall fight for you, and you shall hold your peace.
Yahweh shall fight for you, but you be still. You hold your peace. Right? Okay. Chapter 40 and verse 1 through verse 17.
Brother, you can see how Israel doing that since that
Psalms 40 and verse 1 through verse 17. I know, brother.
With the flags riding around with the flags on the car.
Mm-hmm.
Then these Americans know they serving them.
Man, niggas running around here with waving flags right in this congregation. Every Sabbath day, all I hear is niggas around here waving flags. No. I mean, Psalms chapter 40. We read it once before, didn't we? Right. Psalms chapter 40 in verse 1 through verse 17. Okay.
Verse 1. I waited patiently for Yahweh, and he inclined unto me and heard my cry. He brought me up also out of a horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and set my feet upon a rock, and established my going. And he hath put a new song in my mouth, even praise unto our Elohim. Many shall see it and fear, and shall trust in Yahweh.
Why? Because he put a new song in somebody else's mouth, right? Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 4. Blessed is that man that maketh Yahweh his trust, and respecteth not the proud, nor such as turn aside to lie.
Now, you don't necessarily have to stand around and tell lies. Your ways, the way that you do things, can show that you're a lie. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes,
not
sir.
just what come out your mouth, but the way that you allow things to come out your mouth can show that you're a lie. Go ahead and read, brother. And the things may be true, but it shows that you're a lie because of the way it's presented. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 5. Many, O Yahweh, my Elohim, are your wonderful works which you have done, and your thoughts which are to us were. They cannot be reckoned up in order unto you. If I would declare and speak of them, they are more than can be numbered. Sacrifice and offering you did not desire. Mine ears have you opened. Burnt offering and sin offering have you not required. Then said I, lo, I come. In the volume of the book it is written of me, I delight to do your will, O my Elohim. Yea, your law is within my heart. I have preached righteousness in the great congregation. Lo, I have not refrained my lips, O Yahweh, thou knowest. I have not hid your righteousness within my heart. I have declared your faithfulness and your salvation. I have not concealed your loving kindness and your truth from the great congregation. Withhold not thou thy tender mercies from me, O Yahweh. Let your loving kindness and your truth continually preserve me. For innumerable evils have compassed me about. Mine iniquities have taken hold upon me, so that I am not able to look up. They are more than the hairs of mine head. Therefore my heart faileth me. Be pleased, O Yahweh, to deliver me. O Yahweh, make haste to help me.
Right. Even though my iniquities are more than the hairs of my head, you be pleased. Don't worry about man, because man will always have something in his crawl about something. You be pleased, right? That way, you'll know one thing. You'll always come to revelation. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 14. Let them be ashamed and confounded together that seek after my soul to destroy it. Let them be driven backward and put to shame that wish me evil. Let them be desolate for a reward of their shame that say unto me, Aha, aha. Let all those that seek you rejoice and be glad in you. Let such as love your salvation say continually, Yahweh be magnified. But I am poor and needy, yet Adonai thinketh upon me. You are my help and my deliverer. Make no tarrying, oh my Elohim.
Amen. Now, let's go back. Let's go in the book of Lamentations. Lamentations chapter 3. And read verse 21 through verse 50, my brother. Lamentations chapter 3 and verse 21 through verse 50.
The brother, in trying to find fault, the scripture tell you one thing is to his maker, whether man is to his maker, that a brother or sister stands or fall, right?
Ain't that what? That's what I read. Mm-hmm. Okay. Lamentations chapter 3 and verse 21 through verse 50. Lamentation of Jeremiah, chapter 21 through verse 50.
This I recall to my mind, therefore have I hope. It is of Yahweh's mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not.
Amen.
They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Yahweh is my portion, says my soul. Therefore will I hope in him. Yahweh is good unto them that wait for him, to the soul that seeketh him. It is good that a man should both hope and quietly wait for the salvation of Yahweh.
Good piece of scripture, ain't it? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 27. It is good for a man that he bear the yoke in his youth. He sitteth alone and keepeth silence, because he hath borne it upon him. He putteth his mouth in the dust. If so be, there may be hope. He giveth his cheek to him that smiteth him. He is filled full with reproach.
He giveth his cheek to him that smiteth him. He is filled. He is full of reproach. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 31. For the Adonai will not cast off forever. But though he cause grief, yet will he have compassion according to the multitude of his mercy. For he does not afflict willingly, neither grieve the children of men, to crush under his feet all the prisoners of the earth, to turn aside the right of a man before the face of the Most High.
He won't do that, but man will do that.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, brother.
Verse 36.
You know why man does that? Because he thinks that he's Yahweh's prosecuting attorney on this earth. Go ahead and read, brother.
To subvert a man in his cause.
To subvert a man in his cause, Yahweh don't approve that. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 37. Who is he that says, and it cometh to pass, when the Adonai commandeth it not?
Amen. Amen. Go ahead, brother.
Out of the mouth of the Most High proceedeth not evil. Let me read that again. Out of the mouth of the Most High proceedeth not evil and good. Why does a living man complain, a man for the punishment of his sins? Let us search and try our ways and turn again to Yahweh. Let us lift up our heart with our hands unto Elohim in the heavens. We have transgressed and have rebelled. You have not pardoned. You have covered with anger and persecuted us. You have slain, you have not pitied. You have covered yourself with a cloud that our prayers should not pass through. Well, that's a good piece of scripture there, brother. Verse 45. You have made us as the offscouring and refuse in the midst of the people. All our enemies have opened their mouths against us. Fear and a snare has come upon us, desolation and destruction. Mine eye runneth down with rivers of water for the destruction of the daughter of my people. Mine eye trickleth down and ceases not without any intermission. To Yahweh look down and behold from heaven.
Amen and amen. The instructions in the example is that we must add patience to our treasure of spiritual virtue as the Spirit guides us out of the pit of vanity that we have dug for ourselves and plant our feet firmly upon the rock of our salvation. And this is what we are trying, all of us are trying to do, is plant our feet solidly upon the rock of our salvation. But we work as a unit. See, I've always said we are an advanced information team, right? And we do, y'all know, we do 3 TV shows and a radio show. We worn out a couple of copiers, right? Now we're wearing out another one, trying to pass that word out, right? And it's working. It's working. But there are those among us that find fault in the way that we do things. But it's working. Ephesians 4 in verse 1 through verse 18, my brother. Ephesians 4 in verse 1 through verse 18. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And every time you turn around, somebody got something they want to fix. I don't like this, and I don't like that. We need to fix this, and we need to fix that. Sit down and be quiet. Be still, have patience, see the salvation of God. You've been seeing it all this time. Keep your mouth shut and see the salvation of God. Go ahead, Ephesians 4 in verse 1 through verse 18, my brother.
Yes, sir. I, therefore, the prisoner of the Adonai, beseech you that you walk worthy of the vocation wherewith you are called.
That you do what? Walk worthy of the vocation wherein you were called, right? Walk worthy in the job that you've been given, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 2. With all lowliness and meekness, with long-suffering and forbearing one another in love, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace.
Endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace, right? How can you keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace and you got your mouth open about everything somebody do? That don't make sense, do it? There's no peace. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 4. There is one body and one Spirit, even as you are called in one hope of your calling. One Adonai, one faith, one baptism, one Elohim and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all. But unto every one of us is given grace according to the measure of the gift of the Anointed One. Wherefore he says, when he ascended up on high, he led captivity captive and gave gifts unto men. Now that he ascended, what is it but that he also descended first into the lower parts of the earth? He that descended is the same also that ascended up far above all heavens, that he might fill all things. And he gave some apostles, and some prophets, and some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers, for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of the Anointed One, till we all come in the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of Elohim, unto a perfect man, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of the Anointed One, that we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine, by the slay of man and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive. But speaking the truth in love may grow up into him in all things, which is the head, even the Anointed One, from whom the whole body fitly joined together and compacted by that which every joint supplies, according to the effectual working in the measure of every part, maketh increase of the body unto the edifying of itself in love. This I say, therefore, and testify in the Adonai, that you henceforth walk not as other Euro-Gentiles walk, in the vanity of their mind, having their understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of Elohim through the ignorance that is in them because of the blindness of their heart.
Okay, Galatians 5 and verse 22 through chapter 6 and verse 16. Galatians 5 and verse 22 through chapter 6 and verse 16.
But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. And they that are the anointed ones have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Let us not be desirous of vainglory, provoking one another, envying one another.
If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Let us not be desirous of vainglory, provoking one another, envying one another. If I got things said in a certain way and you don't like it, ain't no sense in you coming to me with your vainglory, because that's, if it works, it ain't going to be fixed. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Galatians chapter 6, verse 1. Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, you which are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness, considering yourself, lest you also be tempted.
Right. Now, why is it that usually when we come together about something, we always got to hear somebody's anger about what's going on? That don't make sense. That don't make sense. Anger doesn't do nothing but frustrate the whole cause. Go ahead and read, brother. It puts people in a position of where they don't want to do nothing. You know why? Every time they take a step, here's somebody talking about, don't step to this side. You ought to step to that side over there. Vainglory. Because this is where I want you to step. This is the way that I think you should do things. If you've already received instruction, then what do? You say, yeah, all right, and go on and do your thing. Ain't no sense trying to put up no argument. Just go and do what you got to do. Follow your instruction, that's all. Study to be quiet. Study to do your own work. Leave other folks alone. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 2. Value one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of the anointed.
And since I've been here in Atlanta, I've given each and every one of you an opportunity to help me bear this burden. But you ain't going to bear it in the way you want to bear it. You know why? I got to give an account. You don't give a damn. Go ahead and read, brother. People come and ask you, say, man, how you doing? Why ask me? You don't even care. Why come up and put your arms around me and want to kiss me, hold on to me and everything, and greet me and everything, and all the time you got a sword in your left hand. You waiting to stick somebody with. Go on and read, brother.
Verse 3. For if a man think himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself.
Then you have to ask yourself, what did you receive that you weren't given? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 4. But let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone, and not in another.
Okay, my brother, I don't want to read the rest of that. Y'all know what the rest of that is all about. Let's go into Proverbs chapter 31 and verse 1 through verse 31. Let's think of ourselves when we read this here. Proverbs chapter 31 and verse 1 through verse 31.
It was a fighter, and one guy who was favored to win actually lost. And the brother, showing sportsmanship and what have you, there's no hard feeling, approached the brother to show him, you put up a good fight. Brother, he extended his arm to hug him, and he...
Brother Stockton did.
Stockton, knocked him out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
and I thought about that when you say that.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that, yeah, brother. I said, you know what? That reminds me of some things to go on at NCCI. Proverbs 31 and in verse 1 through verse 31. And the reason why I do these classes of exhortation is because we have to learn how we have to walk among each other. And we don't walk justly and humbly before each other. We have a tendency a lot of time to, because we have a little knowledge, we take that knowledge to want to beat somebody in the head with it. And you can't come in here beating on nobody. I do all the beating. You can't. I keep telling folks, stop trying to do my job. But everybody wants to do my job and then fake it doing theirs. Proverbs 31 in verse 1 through verse. Not everybody. I'll take that back. That was a lie. Proverbs, y'all forgive me for that. Proverbs 31 in verse 1 through verse 31.
The words of King Lemuel, the prophecy that his mother taught him. What, my son? And what, the son of my womb? And what, son of my vow?
Now, it didn't say here that his father taught him that, did he? Go ahead, brother.
So he got that from the church, right?
So
I'm sorry, brother.
What we do is this.
I was like...
What we do is this. We have women, right? We trust them to run our house and raise our children, right? Cut. Take care of my needs, run my house, raise my children. Shut up. Don't say nothing. Read, brother.
Verse 3. Give not thy strength unto women, nor your ways to that which destroyeth kings. It is not for kings, O Lemuel, it is not for kings to drink wine, nor for princes strong drink, lest they drink and forget the law and pervert the judgment of any of the afflicted.
Mm-hmm.
Give strong drink unto him that is ready to perish, and wine unto those that be of heavy hearts. Let him drink and forget his poverty, and remember his misery no more. Open your mouth for the dumb in the cause of all such as are pointed to destruction. Verse 9. Open your mouth, judge righteously, plead the cause of the poor and needy.
Open your mouth, but judge righteousness now. And in your judging, and the opening of your mouth, in the use of your tongue, you learn how to do what? Plead the cause of the poor and the needy. Go ahead, brother.
Brother, I want to ask you again. This first verse, does this have anything to do with the wife of his youth?
Of course, brother.
Okay.
You know who the wife of his youth was, but don't you?
It was the church. Church, right?
Go ahead, brother. Now, understand now, all these members who's under the blood, they form the church. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 10. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband does safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. Verse 12. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant ship. She bringeth her food from afar. She rises also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens.
And most of the time, she got a 9-to-5 job. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 16. She considereth a field, and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands she planteth a vineyard. She girdeth her loins with strength, and strengtheneth her arms. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle goeth not out by night. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands to hold the distaff. She stretches out her hand to the poor, yea, she reaches forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She maketh herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sitteth among the elders of the land. She maketh fine linen and selleth it, and delivereth girdles unto the merchant. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. Her children arise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but you excelleth them all. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain. But a woman that feareth Yahweh, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gate.
Amen and amen. The Elohim of Israel has decreed that we receive of the holy things given our master due to his virtue, not just the men of Israel, but also the women of Israel. If we walk according to our instructions in faith and without doubtful disputings, surely the Spirit of the Master will cause those called to see our good godly works and glorify our Father which is in heaven. And this is what we are all about here at NCCI, is letting men see our good works and glorify our Father which is in heaven. Philippians 1 and verse 15 through chapter 3 and verse 21. Philippians 1 and verse 15 through chapter 3 and verse 21. Philippians chapter 1 and verse 15 through chapter 3 and verse 21.
Verse 15. Some indeed preach the anointed one even of envy and strife, and some also of goodwill. The one preached the anointed one of contention, not sincerely, supposing to add affliction to my bond.
Right. Right. Every time you see them, they got a bunch of contention in your mouth, hoping to add affliction to your bond. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 17. But the other of love, knowing that I am set for the defense of the gospel. What then? Notwithstanding every way, whether in pretense or in truth, the anointed one is preached, and I therein do rejoice, yea, and will rejoice. For I know that this shall turn to you, my salvation through your prayer, and the supply of the Spirit of Yeshua HaMashiach, according to my earnest expectation and my hope, that in nothing I shall be ashamed, but that with all boldness, as always, so now also the anointed one shall be magnified in my body, whether it be by life or by death.
Why? Because we stand for what? The defense of the word. That's what we're here to do, to defend the word in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation. And if you can't stand in defense of the word, somebody told me that someone told them that on the show that we had that the folks was all on the defensive. Every time you see me, I'm on the defensive about this word. If you don't be on the defensive, you're going to get eaten up. Why do you think he give you all that armor for you not to defend yourself with? Go on and read, brother.
Yes, sir.
Here's a man walking around with a big helmet, right? Shoulder pads and all that junk, that coat of mail and leggings and them steel boots and a sword and everything, and he got to stand there and don't defend himself with it. Go on and read, man.
Verse 21. For to me to live is the anointed one, and to die is gain.
Amen.
But if I live in the flesh, this is the fruit of my labor. Yet what I choose, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
For I am in a strait between two, having a desire to depart and to be with the anointed one, which is far better. Nevertheless, to abide in the flesh is more needful for you.
Right, because I've been set for the gospel. Yahweh sent him to the Gentiles, right? So he said, I want to go. I want to leave here. I want to go and be with my master. He said, but it's more needful that I remain here with you. Go ahead and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 25. And having this confidence, I know that I shall abide and continue with you all for your furtherance and your faith, that your rejoicing may be more abundant in Yeshua HaMashiach for me by my coming to you again. Only let your conversation be as it becometh the gospel of Christ, that whether I come and see you or else be absent, I may hear of your affairs, that you stand fast in one spirit, with one mind, striving together for the faith of the gospel, and in nothing terrified by your...
Hold up, brother. What I know you did. Read that out for me.
Yes, sir. Verse 27. Only let your conversation be as it becometh the gospel of Christ, that whether I come and see you or else be absent, knowledge by the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another the gifts of healing by the same Spirit, to another the working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another discerning of spirits, to another divers kinds of tongues, to another the interpretation of tongues. But all these work of that one and the self-same Spirit, divided to every man severally as he will. For as the body is one and have many members, and all the members of that one body, being many, are one body, so also is the anointed one. For by one Spirit are we all baptized into one body, whether we be Jews or Gentiles, whether we be bond or free, and have been all made to drink into one Spirit. For the body is not one member, but many. If the foot shall say, because I am not the hand, I am not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? And if the ear shall say, because I am not the eye, I am not of the body, is it therefore not of the body?
Right. Because these things say, well, I ain't what I want to be. Is it not still of the body? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 17. If the whole body were an eye, where were the hearing? If the whole were hearing, where were the smelling? But now hath Elohim set the members, every one of them, in the body, as it hath pleased him.
Praise Yah.
And if they were all one member, where were the body? But now are they many members, yet but one body. And the eye cannot say unto the hand, I have no need of you, nor again the head to the feet, I have no need of you.
Why? Because Yahweh has set things, the Spirit has set things in the body the way that it pleases. That's why the things that they do work to the glory of God. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 22. No, much more those members of the body which seem to be more feeble are necessary. And those members of the body which we think to be less honorable, upon these we bestow a more abundant honor. And our uncomely parts have more abundant honor.
If we bestow upon them the more abundant honor, instead of getting off in their stuff, because you ain't the eye. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 24. Verse 24. For our comely parts have no need, but Elohim have tempered the body together, having given more abundant honor to that part which lacked, that there should be no schism in the body, but that the members should have the same care one for another.
For our comely parts have no need. See? Lions, right? And these lionesses, you know, these strong folk, they don't have no need. But Elohim has tempered the body together, having given more abundant honor to that part which lacked. That there should be no schisms in the body, but that the members should have the same care one for another. Go ahead, brother. If you can't help, get out. That's all. If you're in a department and you can't do what it takes to help that department, get out of the department. Do something else. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 26. And whether one member suffer, all the members suffer with it, or one member be honored, all the members rejoice with it.
Right, because if we don't offer the support that's needed, then that member is going to suffer because it doesn't have the support that it needs, right? Then all of us suffer a setback with it. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 27. Now you are the body of the anointed one, and members in particular. And Elohim have set some in the church, first apostles, secondarily prophets, thirdly teachers, after that miracles, then gifts of healings, helps, governments, diversities of tongues.
Mm-hmm.
Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Are all workers of miracles? Have all the gifts of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret? But covet earnestly the best gift, and yet show I unto you a more excellent way.
Amen and amen. In the beginning was the Word, which is Spirit. And the Spirit is constantly giving us the power we need to stand and defend the holy, sacred things given us concerning our words and deeds. This is why we must wear the whole armor of Elohim, that we may defend our peace, because it's our destiny to be the army of the Master in Metro Atlanta. Regardless of whether you like the way the things are set up or not, it works. And you are definitely set in position to be a great army here of the Master in Metro Atlanta. But then let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Psalms chapter 37, and pick that up at verse 1, my brother. See, I'm an old dog. And the things that you throw at me, they bounce off me. But what I do is I consider. And then I go ask, I pray about things, see. And then I go ask, why is this like that? See. And then you know what I do? I don't say nothing about that no more. I don't pray about that no more. I wait and I wait until I receive an answer. Then when I receive an answer, I go into action. A lot of folks don't like the action I take, but I don't care. I'm not here to win no popularity contest. All I want you to do is do your job. That's all I want you to do is do your job. That's all. Because if you don't do your job, you're not going to receive your salvation. Psalms 37, pick that up at verse 1, my brother.
Yes, sir.
And there can't be two heads in this congregation. That's why these brothers and sisters that do classes, that's why I insist that I get a tape of their classes. If they don't give me a tape, believe me, arrangements has been made that I receive tapes. See, I hear the little garbage that comes up. See, folks don't know it. Folks still running around playing these games and everything, but I hear the garbage that comes up. You see, you know what it makes me do? It makes me see that we need some help. Psalms chapter 37, and pick that up at verse 1.
Yes, sir. Fret not yourself because of evildoers, neither be you envious against the workers of iniquity. For they shall soon be cut down like the grass, and wither as the green herb. Trust in Yahweh, and do good. So shall you dwell in the land, and yes, you shall be fed.
And believe me, since you've been coming here, what you come here looking for, that's what you found. If you come here looking for knowledge, you found it. When you come here looking for understanding, you found it. When you come here looking for wisdom, you found it. When you come here looking for trouble, you found it. See, you have to know how to, a servant of the Lord has to know how to abase and to abound, and how to become all things to all men, that he might gain some of them. But you can push that damn thing too far. Go on and read, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 4. Delight yourself also in Yahweh, and he shall give you the desires of your heart.
Praise Yah.
Commit your way unto Yahweh. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass.
You people that get out here doing this work, passing out information, whether you're a department head or whatever you're doing, you're committing your ways to Yahweh, right? And what he's doing, he's bringing his word to pass right among us. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 6. And he shall bring forth your righteousness as the light, and your judgment as the noonday.
Praise Yah.
Rest in Yahweh, and wait patiently for him. Fret not yourself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. Cease from anger, and forsake wrath. Fret not yourself in any wise to do evil. For evildoers shall be cut off, but those that wait upon Yahweh, they shall inherit the earth. Christians need to read this, and the Muslims, don't they, brother? Didn't say nothing about going to heaven, that is. Oh, yeah, that's true. Verse 10. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be. You shall diligently consider his place, and it shall not be.
You shall diligently consider his place, and it will be. Amen.
Yes, sir. Verse 11. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. The wicked plotteth against the just.
Your mic is on. I know it's on. I took it off. The wicked plotteth against the just, and then turn around and do what? Mash upon him with your teeth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Verse 13. Adonai shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming.
Mm-hmm.
The wicked have drawn out the sword and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and needy, and to slay such as be of upright conversation. Their swords shall enter into their own heart, and their bows shall be broken. A little that a righteous man have is better than the riches of many wicked.
And we have to ask ourselves one thing. Is a man righteous because we consider him righteous, or is he righteous because his God consider him to be righteous?
Amen.
Yes, sir. Verse 17.
We consider that, we do when we go up to people and get ready to say something out of the way, a derogatory, we do take a knife and cut our own throat.
Verse 17. For the arms of the wicked shall be broken, but Yahweh upholdeth the righteous. Yahweh knoweth the days of the upright, and their inheritance shall be forever. They shall not be ashamed in the evil time, and in the days of famine they shall be satisfied. But the wicked shall perish, and the enemies of Yahweh shall be as the fat of lambs. They shall consume, into smoke shall they consume away. The wicked borroweth and payeth not again, but the righteous showeth mercy and giveth. For such as be blessed of him shall inherit the earth, and they that be cursed of him shall be cut off. The steps of a good man are ordered by Yahweh, and he delighteth in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for Yahweh upholdeth him with his hand. I have been young, and now am old, yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. He is ever merciful and lendeth, and his seed is blessed. Depart from evil and do good, and dwell forevermore.
They got to give it to them, expecting not to receive it again. Go ahead and read it, brother.
Verse 28. For Yahweh loveth judgment, and forsaketh not his saints. They are preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. The righteous shall inherit the land and dwell therein forever. The mouth of the righteous speaketh wisdom, and his tongue talketh of judgment. The law of his God is in his heart. None of his steps shall slide. The wicked watcheth the righteous, and seeketh to slay him. Yahweh will not leave him in his hand, nor condemn him when he is judged. Wait on Yahweh, and keep his way, and he shall exalt you to inherit the land. When the wicked are cut off, you shall see it. I have seen the wicked in great power, and spreading himself like a green bay tree. Yet he passed away, and lo, he was not. Yea, I sought him, but he could not be found. Mark the perfect man, and behold the upright, for the end of that man is peace. Verse 38. But the transgressors shall be destroyed together. The end of the wicked shall be cut off. But the salvation of the righteous is of Yahweh. He is their strength in the time of trouble. And Yahweh shall help them and deliver them. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them because they trust in him.
Why we do the works that we do is simply because we trust that the Spirit is guiding us in these works and bring us success in the things that we have to deal with. All you have to do is get folks in here. That's all. Get folks in here. I got folks that in position to do the job. All of us can't be teachers. All of us can't be healers. All of us are not chosen to be department heads. But you get an income, and the job is done. You know why? Yahweh has given us the gifts that we need in this country to do what's necessary to be done, that the Word of God be magnified in the land. And truly, the Word of God is magnified by NCCI in Atlanta. So let us always find the time to give Yahweh thanks and the glory is due and the honor is due to his name, and learn how to honor one another. Because truly, all of us are servants of the true and living God. And when you go, you got to understand, like I said before, when you go to people, it's easier to go with a bouquet of roses. It's easier for them to be entreated than it is for you to go with 3 foot 7 magazines. That's about all I'm going to do.